I joined Google 2.5 years ago, and when I did, never in my wildest dreams had I thought we would have the pleasure and opportunity of hosting over 150 of you in Paris in what is now our second press day globally and our first outside the United States, which is befitting because Google is a company which hopes to serve users across the entire world in multiple countries, multiple languages. We shouldn't try and repeat this event in the US, hopefully for another 15 years. So with that, I've worked for a lot of traditional companies in my life. I spent over 15 years of my life working for traditional companies, both in Europe and the US and the United States. When I joined Google 2.5 years ago, there was something about this company that told me this was different. And what it took for me to realize this is different is I spent a few hours going through the company's prospectus and the founder's letter before I joined the company, since I hadn't met them then. And then the first time I met them in the British Museum, where we walked around and we talked about Google and we talked about the world. And that's the day I decided I wanted to join this company. And I've spent 2.5 years in that company. And I have to say, I spent 5 years of my life in marketing, and we used to sit in every meeting and talk about the 4 Ps of marketing. And for those of you who are business journalists or went to business school or spent an elementary course in marketing, you know the 4 Ps that people talk about. But at Google, we're constantly talking about only 1 P, and that's the product. And the reason we talk about the product a lot is because the company has one single-minded focus, and the focus is around our users. I've been to many meetings where our founders, our product managers, and various senior people at Google, the first question they ask is, so how is this good for the user? How does it make it great for the user? Why is this a wow event for the user? And hopefully during the course of today, where you will get to hear from Chad and Steve, the founders of YouTube, Eric Schmidt, our chairman and CEO, Marissa, who runs our search business and has been in the company literally from the beginning, and Urs, one of our very senior engineers and fellows of Google, and of course, you just met Rachel, who's very modest and won't share that she's the head of our press and communications operations across Europe, and actually has had a hand in pulling all this together. So hopefully you will hear from all of us. And given that what's going on out there in the world, that we've gone from being a small company which started 8 years ago to a company which perhaps is sometimes more discussed than we'd like it to be, we hope that today during the day you'll get a chance to hear from all the people on stage and perhaps form an even more informed opinion about Google and what we bring to the table, what we do for our users, and what we do for other people. So in the last 2.5 years, we've had the pleasure and opportunity of bringing literally over 50 products in multiple countries and languages across Europe, ranging from Gmail, Google Toolbar, Google Search, various advertising products for our advertising partners, etc. In the course of those 2.5 years, we have gone from having 9 offices around Europe to over 25 offices. Of that, more than 10 are R&D offices, which are run by my colleague, who's the head of engineering for Europe, in places like Israel, Russia, Norway, Zurich, and many others. So we clearly have been investing a lot in trying to bring more and more of our resources into this part of the world. Now, last night, a lot of you walked up to me and says, so, what does the president of Google EMEA do? What do you do? Everything happens in California. Well, not exactly. When we want to go out and put products in our users' hands, when we want them to use our products, it is important that we have both people locally who understand what's going on in those markets, people who understand how products are built. 2 weeks ago, I was in Egypt, and I had the opportunity to spend time with some users, some journalists, etc. And I'm sure all of you know, but they normally don't read their products left to right. They read their products right to left. So it's very hard for people in California to think about how an Arabic user is going to interact with that product. It's the whole visual interaction with the screen changes when you start doing things differently. So we need people in various markets around Europe and around the world to continue our efforts towards localization, as well as, not only that, spend time working with various partners in those markets. So in the course of the last 2.5 years, we've gone from over 500 employees across Europe to now over 2,500 across the various 25 plus offices that we have. A lot of these people are involved in working with partners, working with advertisers, helping us localize products, helping us do some development in local markets, and various other functions that support the existence of our business and the furthering of our business in those markets. Well, at Google, as most of you must know, we spend a lot of time making sure our employees are happy, because we believe that happy employees will result in happy products, happy partners, and general happiness around. So we make sure we feed our people and make sure they get enough water. So I'm happy to say that in the first quarter of this year, I think 20,000 bottles of water have been consumed by the Googlers in Europe, and over 3,500 kilograms of oranges. Or apples. Yes, oranges. Yeah, I was going to say apples. No, oranges. I don't know if Eric Schmidt is here, but he'll be happy with the progress. It's a lot more than last year. I can't talk about revenues for this region, but I can talk about apples and water. So we spend a lot of our time, in addition to focusing on users, we also spend a lot of our time focusing on partners. We have lots and lots of partners around Europe, both large and small, whether it is small advertisers we work with, who rely on Google and who rely on us in certain instances to help them find users and people who are interested in their products. As you know, the internet has been a great leveler and has allowed lots of small businesses. I was in Egypt, as I mentioned. There is a small travel agent in Egypt who, since he has discovered the internet, has seen his revenues grow 500% because now he can directly target users who want to come to Egypt. So there are lots and lots of partners we have. Small partners like travel agents in Egypt to large partners like the BBC, who we recently partnered with not too long ago as part of our deal with YouTube and BBC to get them to start channels on YouTube. So a lot of our effort in Europe is spent in working with partners, helping them monetize. And it's just not general happiness of partners. In the first quarter alone, we helped our partners generate $1 billion of revenue, i.e. we gave away $1 billion of revenue to our partners in the region so that it helps our business, it helps their business. But hopefully that was a quick insight into what we do in Europe. And next time we meet, you will not ask me the basic question, what do I do for a living? But today is about a lot of more other things, a lot of more important things as well, about our users, about our products. And when you talk about users, there is nothing better than starting the day off with two people who sat down and said, why is video file sharing so complicated on the web? And lo and behold, YouTube was born. So with that, I'm going to hand over to my friends Chad and Steve. Please welcome Chad and Steve.